Ahoy, ladies and gentlemen, how are you doing? Welcome to the BBC Spews Live. It's the 18th of August 2024 in Clown World, and it's gone completely mad, and you don't need me to tell you, do you? Who's in? Let's have a quick look. Typical Smoggy, always late. Cheers, Jason Lay. Sadwings is in. Modern, how are you? Electric Boogaloo 3. Starman's going to be in Deliverance too, yeah, definitely. And I don't know how many freedom-loving patriots he's going to be conquer deep in, but there's going to be plenty of them, I can assure you. First things first, let's put the story on that I wanted to talk about. This fella, right? This fella. Unbelievable, really. I know that there's almost too much evidence now that, to me, even pretending that there's any form of debate or discussion on the two-tier policing thing is ridiculous at this point. It's just a demonstrable fact. You might as well deny that the sky is blue if you want to tell me with a straight face that there's no two-tier policing. That's why the Bobby flashed and snapped the microphone when one of the GB News guys was trying to get him to discuss the issue, because they know it's true. The old adage, the truth hurts. Everybody knows the truth hurts. And that's why he did what he did. If it was really up for debate and discussion, he'd have happily just stopped and went, yeah, of course it's ridiculous. Everybody knows it's ridiculous. But he didn't. He lost his rag and went, yeah, and snapped the microphone because he was pissed off. Because he knows it's true. Someone from Nunthorpe there. Posh. That's the posh bit of Middlesbrough, Nunthorpe. I think that's the only posh bit. You know, most towns have got about, 50-50 in it. You got Moss Side in Manchester, and you got Prestwich. Like, there's always a nice bit. Middlesbrough's just Borough and then posh bit. Nunthorpe, Martin, that's all right. Rest of them a bit dodgy, aren't they? Groveville. I think I've seen more burning corpses in Groveville than I saw in 2 tours of Afghanistan. Volume's a tad low. Hang on then. There we are. Put another 8 on. Oh, that's better. Yeah, can't put that word on the screen. It angers Suza. Oh, not Suza. If anyone didn't hear, I've outlived one of my nemesis. I take no pleasure in it, but I also don't care. I don't do that false thing, where one of the best examples of that is Joe Biden, isn't it? Because I've told you this story before, I'm sure long-term viewers will remember. My old fella didn't go to my granddad's funeral. He never slagged him off in front of me to his credit. But when he died, he went, I'm not going. And I went, why? And he said, never liked him. Arsehole. I was like, oh, all right then. You never said anything to me. And he was like, well, I'm not going to slag him off to you. He's your granddad, isn't he? But I'm not going to the funeral because he's a prick. And he treated your mum like a slave when she was a kid. And I said, oh, fair enough then. So I don't practice this false thing. Like Biden and them, they were saying, Orange Mussolini, Cheeto, blah, blah, blah. They went after his son. It was like there was no hold barred. He was like, paint a bullseye on him, go after his kids, severed his head on the front of a magazine. And then the second someone shoots his lug off, they go, oh, it's a terrible tragedy. I was like, you people are just snakes, aren't you? Wouldn't you have a lot more time for people who are like me, who are just honest? Like, I don't crow over it. I'm not going to tap dance on anyone's grave or go to Margaret Thatcher's funeral when I was there and there was people picking it. It's like, that's a bit ridiculous. But at the end of the day, I don't have to pretend I'm upset when one of my nemesis gets fucking both barrels. Although she didn't get both barrels, did she? She died of lung cancer, which is shit. No one wants to get the big C. That's bad. But I don't care. Don't care. As far as I'm concerned, couldn't have happened to a nicer person. So old Porridge Face has beat me to the pearly gates. And it's just worth noting that I actually will get through the pearly gates, whereas Porridge Face is currently getting racked by a half-man, half-bison scaled demon from the pits of hell. She will be getting, if a butterfly's wing brushes against a ball of lead 1,000 times larger than the sun, by the time that ball of lead is ground down to nothing, the butterfly's wing brushes against it once every 10,000 years. By the time that global-sized ball of lead vanishes into nothingness, Suzar will still be getting rogered by a scaled creature from the pits of Hades. So, nice one. Yeah, but loving that. I think I read that in the Viz about 20 years ago. It was the letters page, like, Ask the Pope. And people were asking the Pope random stuff, and someone said, like, oh, dear so-and-so, my friend is a practitioner of Buddhism, but I think they're a really nice person. Will they meet me in the afterlife? And it's the Pope's like, oh, dear so-and-so, I'm sure they're a nice person, but if a butterfly's wing brushed against a sun-sized ball of lead once every 10,000 years, by the time it brushes away to nothing, your friend will still be screaming in a lake of burning dog shit. So that's where I pinched that one from. Anyway, it's a mad time to be alive. So we're going to look at some more of these, even though I'm sick of doing them because it's now a demonstrable fact. We're all sick of seeing them. This one is palpable because he was a political candidate. And it's a really good example because I covered this back when it happened. You might remember there was a big fat bloke. He was a big fat swarthy gentleman, and he's on video saying like, "Oh, if I see that Simon Damsuck, that fat pink, he's doing the gammon, he's doing the like overt hateful racism aimed towards people like you and me." And then he says, if I see him, I will, and I'm encouraging you all to put one in his head. Like, he's literally telling people, not only I will end his existence. I'm trying to avoid all of the terms I know that they look for. Not only will I end his I will send him to the shadow realm. There's a good way of describing it. And I encourage everybody else to do it as well. Nothing happens to him. Nothing. Like, you can't get more blatant than that. You can't get more blatant than what this fat, horrible Joe Dackey did. And he says, Labour have been accused of presiding over a two-tier system by Reform UK candidate who was the target of an alleged, yeah. If that's alleged, yeah, I could literally pop my fucking trousers down to my ankles now, whip my piece out and start fapping myself senseless. And you could say, oh, it was alleged that the Angry Bootneck was pulling his pud on a live stream the other day. It wasn't alleged. He's doing it on his own account, telling everyone that you should go and find him and obviously end him. So it's not alleged. Everyone knows it. Everyone knows it happened. And anyway, he says he was described as blatant racism by a man who said that he ever saw him, he'd put one in his head. Can't say fairer than that. He told the police, and they said they launched an investigation, but there's not been a prosecution. No. They've just jailed a lad in Middlesbrough because he laughed at riot footage. This is what I'm saying, like, every single one of us, and this is why the law is now a joke, every single one of us could be arrested by these haphazard scattershot. We'll just randomly have an opinion whether or not we should arrest someone. Every single person watching this stream should be in jail if you're using the scattershot, illogical, willy-nilly legal system currently presiding over the UK, because the bloke they locked up in Middlesbrough was just lolling. I went through his page. It was like there's shows a load of coppers getting bricks and bottles through at them, which again, everybody civilised going, yeah, of course you should be arrested if you physically throw a bottle at a copper. Of course you should. This bloke's just lolling. I've lolled because I don't like the bobbies because they're obviously presiding over a two-tier justice system. So I don't like the bobbies. And now, I told you this lot, I'd have went and intervened if I seen a bobby getting attacked by a member of by a hooligan or a criminal. I always would. Typical bootneck. I'm not scared of a bit of chew, and I'm happy to do my part. I would have always intervened if I seen a copper getting roughed up by a Somalian, up until about 3 or 4 years ago, when it was clear that the police are avidly against me just because of what I look like. And there was that big story. I'm sure, again, you lot are all on YouTube too much, aren't you? So you'll know what I'm talking about. There was a story a couple of years ago when 2 police women were rolling around trying to arrest this big black bloke, and they just couldn't get it done. And everyone was laughing about it. And then Cressida Dickhead, the Met Police Commissioner, went on the telly and said, oh, if the general public aren't going to start intervening and helping my officers, then we're just going to stop policing the streets. And I was like, excuse me. You can politely ask me to intervene and help the police. Well, if you tell me what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop people like you, Mr. Bootneck, and your Bootneck friends. I always talk about my big, buff, handsome, 6'3" Bootneck mate Richie trying to be a copper when he first left the corps, and they weren't interested. They're like, no, physically fit, extremely strong, brave, determined, courageous. No, we don't want you, Richie. We want a little, short, fat, roller lesbian copper. So it's lunatics, it's lunacy. And yes, exactly what I'm getting at. And obviously still no charges for the bloke who was windmilling on a policewoman's face. So this is what I'm talking about, Anglo-Saxon. This is what I'm talking about. Now, I'd laugh. So you're going to jail me? Is that illegal? You cannot compel members of the public. And this is the problem they're all making. They're all getting the dumbest lawyer on earth. Remember, I keep laughing about it. That line from Lethal Weapon 4 when he says, you have a right to an attorney. If you cannot afford an attorney, we will give you the dumbest lawyer on earth. That's what they're stitching all these idiots up with who are going to court. So you have to seriously think about this. If anyone of you watching, I've got nearly 1,000 people in now. If anyone watching this gets nicked by these haphazard, irrational, illogical, totally unworkable, illegal laws that these lunatic communists are passing, get a lawyer, join the Free Speech Union, crowdfund a lawyer, tell me, I'll put some money into it, whatever we can do. But get a lawyer and defend yourself, because it is illogical, it is irrational, it makes no sense. And they've sent a lad to 12 weeks for laughing. He didn't do anything. He was like literally in Middlesbrough, went out walking the dog, and when he looked, he seen a load of coppers getting bottles shot at him. And he went, ha 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 ha, and walked off, and they've just locked him up. I reserve the right to point and laugh. This is, you know what I mean? I think I would defend myself. I'd say to the judge, I'd be like, never broke the law in my life, no criminal record. I find the current state of the police to be laughable. It's hilarious. It's hilarious. You could have had people like me and my big buff, tall, fast, strong mate Richie be a copper policing the streets, but you didn't want him. You wanted a little 5'2" fat bird who said the right things. Oh, hello, darling. Oh, yeah, go on then. You go and rugby tackle the 8-foot Nigerian with nunchucks. Go on, you stand there and I'll laugh, because I find it comical. You can't. It is funny. It is funny. It's the oldest comedy. The Three Stooges. It's funny. Slapstick's funny. So if I'm walking down the street and I see 2 little short fat roller lesbians trying to arrest a massive Nigerian bloke and he's throwing them about willy-nilly, 10 years ago I'd have ran over and got him in a sleeper hold. You know what I mean? I could take down easy. I'd just run over, take him out with one of those bit of unarmed combat the PTIs taught me when I was a young bootneck, lock him up, copper lock him so his head's around the back of his head, and then hold him till the bobby's got there. But now you see these little short fat birds trying to arrest a big massive Nigerian basketball player, and I reserve the right to point and laugh. It's not illegal. You cannot legislate and say you have to put yourself in harm's way because we, the state, is paying the wages of incompetent people. That's not against the law. No bed. That's what I'd say to the judge. I'd say, here, no bed. You haven't got a clue what you're talking about. So get a lawyer. Get a lawyer. It is lunacy to even suggest that pointing and laughing is illegal. It's not illegal. It's hilarious. All I'd do is, I'd demand a trial by jury. And then when the jury is sitting there, I'd pull out a DVD player. I'll show you my age here. I almost said VHS. I thought I'll be youthful and say DVD. Nobody uses physical media anymore. I'd pull out a 40-inch telly with a USB stick in the back in the cart. And I'd say, watch this. And if you don't laugh, well done. And I'd show them some footage of two little fat roller lesbians rolling around on the floor with the tit helmets on. Oh, they don't wear tit helmets anymore, do they? Rolling around on the floor with the flat caps on, trying to arrest a massive Nigerian basketball player. And they would laugh. Because it's like stand-up comedy. I seen a picture today someone sent me of two policewomen in Manchester. They're midgets. They look like the lollipop kids off Alice in Wonderland. Like, we represent the lollipop kid. Little dwarfish coppers, two of them. And they stood next to these two black blokes who were just private security in the Arndale Centre. And that's what they're doing now. They're hiring useless, effeminate midgets and then outsourcing the hard work to minimum wage big security blokes. So we'll get them to do it then. Get them to do with it, because I'm not helping you. I'm not helping you. And you can't prosecute me for that. You can't make me help the police. I refuse to help them. It's not my job. I'm not getting paid for it. You want me to arrest criminals? You badge me and you pay me for it. Other than that, suck my stump, my lud. That's what I'd say to them. And I'd be like, go on, do your worst. Let this stand as a test. And if they want to lock me up, I will go cackling to my cell and I will tent peg my fucking duvet and I'll sleep. And you do get a duvet in a British prison now. Do get a duvet. Anders Breivik's cell was way nicer than my first flat. I'll be tent pegging my duvet every night, knowing that you've locked me up for nothing. I'm willing to be a martyr. Lock me up for laughing. Lock me up for laughing. Because I'm allowed to laugh. I reserve the right to not arrest criminals when I'm not a police officer and laugh at things that I find comical. And if you want to lock me up for those two things, you crack on and do it. Knobhead. Here is a tenor towards Kim Jong-Starmer's urgent investigation into the child grooming gangs in the UK and the attacks on Christians praying outside. Yeah, well, we've all seen it. But I'm not giving that to Keir Starmer. I'm keeping it. I'll spend that on meths. So thanks for that, Bob Hunter. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. So this story, as I said, you're sick of seeing the evidence. But this is just I'll show you two, and then I'll move on. Because I don't want to just constantly go on and on about this stuff. Oh, yeah, who was it who asked for my Twitter page? Is that one? It's just x.com Angry Bootneck. I don't know why it's not. Hang on, I'll stick it in the chat for you. There you are. I think that's it. Hey, the tolerant liberal Bootneck must have worked. I haven't been banned off X since I simply embarrassed myself and made my artwork me hand in hand dancing through a meadow with Gimp Para. Although you can't see his big spiky dildo, so it's PG-13, that picture, isn't it? What else have we got? Yeah, so I'm not going to go on too much about this stuff because, as I said, we're all aware of it now. I feel like the case has already been made. It's international headlines at this point. So there's no need me for going about it too much, but I'll quickly read it and then I'll do the other one I was going to cover and then we'll knock it on the head. But essentially, yeah, Simon Danso, you've seen the video, fat bloke telling everyone, yeah, being overtly racist and then telling everyone he was going to put one in his head and you should basically do it yourself. And the Greater Manchester Police said they did arrest him, but no prosecutions. And Mr. Dansuk said, this must be the easiest crime to solve in the history of policing and there's been no prosecution. So, yeah, if the tables were reversed, he would not only have been prosecuted, but he'd be in prison. Demonstrable fact. Demonstrable fact. There's lads now in Middlesbrough who did something wrong last month, arrested the next day, tried the next week, in jail now. And then there's lads who didn't do anything wrong, who just laughed. Ha ha, they're in jail now. But this bloke who threatened a man running for Parliament and said he was going to put one in his head hasn't been prosecuted, and he never will be, because he's got a bit of a tan and he worships a man who rogered a 9-year-old. So let's just have it said right now in the open. There is definitely, demonstrably, hundreds and thousands of cases of aggressive two-tier policing in the United Kingdom. So there's no need for us to keep going on about it. So there's one big one. Simon Danzog, obvious case. I've had loads of death threats off the regulars at Allen's. You've all seen them. They're quite hilarious. One bloke saying, if I was in a room with you and one of us would not leave alive, and I was like, aye, fatty, and it'd be you because you look like a walrus. You've got more chins than the Chinese phone book. I'd tap dance on your face with ease. I would poke 60 jabs into your face before you'd even dusted the Battenberg cake crumbs off your fingers, buffalo ass. Like, it wouldn't even be, it's not even remotely concerning to me, but they make death threats and nothing happens to them. So what is that? Do you need more evidence? The second piece of evidence I'm going to show you, not because I feel like I need to make the case anymore, but for no other reason than it's actually funny. I.e., it's so ludicrous. It's of comic value for me to show you. So this one was from the Metro. I think I put it on my... yeah, here it is. So I'll put this one on my Twitter. It's there are literally thousands of examples at this point, but I think this is my most favourite. A good lawyer could definitely argue that a massive... this you can only be described as... I'm going to make that bigger. As a pro-surprise sex convoy. A convoy. So they made a convoy driving through the streets, on English streets, shouting things like, slay the 4B2 wherever you find him, surprise sex the 4B2's daughter, like the most vile hatred, racism, misogyny, positive sexual assault, like all of the worst things you could possibly imagine. And all charges got dropped. But they've just locked a bloke up for 12 weeks for lolling at a riot on Twitter. As I said, my side. It's so absurd. It's funny. It's funny. It's like if this was on a comedy show in the 80s, you'd be laughing, wouldn't you? If it was like Rowan Atkinson on Blackadder or something. Blackadder Goes Forth. What a masterpiece that was. Let's. I'll put the bigger story up so you can read it. If there was a scene, because one of the best court scenes ever, right, in British comedy, is definitely on Blackadder Goes Forth, where I'm sure again we're all a bit older. My viewers aren't there. I'm sure most of you have seen the Blackadder where he shoots the pigeon, and it's probably the funniest courtroom scene you'll ever see, because even the fact that the judge who comes in to preside over it, if you haven't seen it, I'll have to give you the short version, but I recommend you go and watch it on YouTube. Essentially, on Blackadder Goes Forth, it's set in the First World War. A carrier pigeon lands in the trench, and Blackadder goes, one moment, Baldrick, and he shoots the carrier pigeon, and then he goes, right then, Baldrick, we'll just eat this delicious pigeon. And then he checks its leg, and it's got a note round it, and the leg says, as a result of communication issues, from now on, shooting carrier pigeons will be a capital offence. And they all start laughing. Yeah, the Flanders pigeon murderer. So he scrumbles a paper up, birds it, and he says, right, Baldrick, we definitely did not get any messages. We definitely didn't receive any messages. And we definitely did not eat this delicious, plump-bested pigeon. So if they eat the pigeon, and then when he gets caught for it, because obviously Baldrick tells everybody in amusing fashion, when they're in court, the bloke who owned the pigeon, he's the judge. So he walks in, he's like, he's got the wig on, and it's his pet pigeon. And when the defense guy gets up when the prosecution guy gets up to ask questions, he's like, I call my first witness to the stand, the judge, and the Honourable Mr. Melton. And the judge says, okay then. And he's like supposed to be a witness for the prosecution. And he's like, did you raise a beautiful, warm-hearted pigeon called Speckled Jim. He's like, yeah, yes, I did. And he's like, and do you know who killed your beautiful pigeon? He's like, yes, I did. And he's like, who? And he's like, him there, that's the man. And he goes, I rest my case. And he goes, very good, sits back down. And then he's like judging the guy who killed his pigeon. So if all this stuff was made into a satirical comedy, you would laugh. I can imagine it. You could have like Stephen Fry sitting there with Abu Hamza, right? And he could be like, and what did you do on the morning of the 20th of November? And he's like, well, I got a small convoy, 10, 15 vehicles, and we drove around the streets and we shouted things like, butcher the 4B2s wherever you see them. Yeah, that's what you did. Yeah, you did that. Yeah. And we also said, did you also literally promote forcing yourself upon their daughters? Yep, we did that. We did it. And you did it loudly. Yes, we did it loudly. And you did do it often. Yes, we did it often. And how many laps of the town did you do? Oh, about 30. All right, okay, case dismissed. £20 fine, see you later. In fact, no, not a £20 fine, because all the charges were dropped. Jolly good. And then he walks out, and then you could have Melchett, bring in the next man. And the man walks in, and he goes, what did you do? And he says, oh, I pointed and laughed because I seen a copper fall over. 6 months. That's funny. If that was well done by all the crew from Blackadder, you would laugh. And this is where we're at. So this story is, again, I'll have to watch what I'm saying because they'll throw you off the platform if you even say some of these words that the police let them off for. It says all of the men arrested for being part of a convoy of cars that drove through the middle of London shouting outright hatred and promoting sexual assault were all let go. The Crown Prosecution Service said there was not enough evidence to prosecute any of them. Yeah. But if you went on Twitter and type ha ha in response to a copper getting filled in, you get 6 months in Porky. So there you go. Two-tier. It's not only a thing. Like I said, and there's the evidence. There's another piece of evidence. On the Metro, which is a lefty publication, right? Change the word Juliet, Echo Whiskey, etc. Change that one word for Mike, Uniform, Sierra, Change that one word for regulars at Allen's Snack Bar. Make a convoy and drive through central London, 20 white chavs, right, shouting that, and see how fast they lock you up. Is that not game, set, and match? Home run? Do we need any more? Because I'm sick of talking about it, really. I did a top 10 last week, and I forgot that one. That one is a corker. That is an absolute corker. In fact, we should do it. We should do the exact same. Recreate it. Get flags. I don't know what flags you'd use. Just guess bog standard England flags. Put England flags on 5 or 6 cars. Get blokes driving them. They all have to be ginger. Blonde or ginger. Get like 10 blonde and ginger blokes to drive through the middle of London in that convoy, shouting the exact same slogans, but just swap the J word for the M word. And watch how fast you end up in the nick. You'll be getting rogered senseless by Randy Ron, the armed robber, faster than you can say. All charges dropped. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. Faster than greased weasel shit. So, game, set, and match. Game, set, and match. I'm wasted. Yeah, I should be on GB News. GB News is shite, innit? Which is good, because I've got nearly 1,200 viewers here. GB News doesn't get 1,200 viewers on a live stream. I think they get about 300. So I'm beating them by a factor of 4. Although, I reckon Ofcom would definitely grab me by the short and curlies, wouldn't they? Ofcom would be swinging me round by my knackersack if I was saying this on any mainstream television programme. Anyway, I've missed a few super chats there, haven't I? Anglo, one of our heavily tanned brothers doing 6 months for... Oh, yeah, 6 months. Again, I covered that in my video, didn't I? You're on about there. That bloke macheted a 14-year-old boy in Newcastle, and he died. Bled to death on the cobbles, and he got 6 months for it. And the lad from Borough who lolled at the copper, I think he got 18 months. One of them who shouted, "Alan, Alan, who the F is Alan?" He got 18 months. It's hilarious, really. And Bob, want to give yourself a gift. £2. That'll buy me, well, I only drink shite, so that'll get me 6 cans of Ace, that, Bob. Thanks, mate. I've got very low standards in culinary delights, beverages, and women. So I am a bootneck at heart, right? So that's brilliant. I love that. Absolute crazy time to be alive. What else funny's happened on Twitter in recent days? Let's have a look. Fat albino jellyfish wants his head examined. Oh, yeah, that's a good one. Rag sent me that one. Let's see what he's saying here, Fatty.
By their incredible counterpunch in the Kursk region, the Ukrainians have shown once again how grievously we've underestimated them throughout this conflict, this war to expel Putin from Ukraine. And so now, by all that's holy, is the moment for us in the West to give them the permission to use the weaponry that we're already giving them. To find out more, by their incredible counterpunch in the Kursk region,
You know what annoys me about Boris Johnson? He thinks all you have to do to be Churchillian is to have a big vocabulary. I've got a big vocabulary if I try. If I really wanted to, I could constantly speak in needlessly elaborate verbiage. I can be eloquent when I attempt to do so. It's very simple, but I don't want to sound like a pretentious bellend, so I don't. It's almost like acting to me. Like, I could very easily speak like that and copy him exactly. Oh yes, here we are in the Eastern European region with my erstwhile allies in our valorous attempts to expel. Shut up, you fat albino jellyfish. How's that sound? He thinks all you have to do is use big words and you'll appear Churchillian. No, Churchill was a hero because he was a visionary, because when everybody was slagging him off and sticking up for the Austrian, the mad one-bollocked Austrian, he was one of the few people who saw it early, and he made hard decisions. The scum that lead us don't make hard decisions. They do. It's why it's so... hang on. Sorry, the rage boner was swelling there. I don't want to punch a hole in my desk while I'm in the middle of a stream. You just hear cling, and it sounds like someone's dropped a spanner in my back patio. It's why it's so annoying, because of the naked, flagrant, blatant dishonesty of them. They try and play both sides of every argument, and it's why it angers me so much. Pick a side. It really reminds me of Richard Dawkins, because Richard Dawkins made a really good point, and he said, I prefer vigorous debates with passionate Baptist creationists or passionate mullahs or archbishops that really believe in the position. I much prefer them to wishy-washy journalists who interview me and they say they're on the fence on every issue. And our scumbag politicians now, totally different from the greats like Roosevelt and Churchill. Churchill was the greatest speaker we ever had, and a man of real conviction, and he balls up loads of times. I know a lot about Churchill because I've been listening to a lot of stuff about him. Uncancelled History was good. I've read a couple of books back in the day. Churchill messed a few things up. He did. He got a few women's rights issues ballsed up. He ballsed up at Gallipoli, which is a big famous one that my nana rated him for. But he made mistakes, but he learned from them. And the most important thing was he had conviction, and that's the point. I respect people that have got conviction, even if they're wrong. And Peter Hitchens has made this point. Parliament should be a few hundred people just like Peter Hitchens having arguments with a few hundred people just like Jeremy Corbyn. That's what it should be. And it isn't. Instead, we've got these verminous creatures who stand for nothing. That's my point. At least Jeremy Corbyn is a committed socialist, and he's always said he was a socialist. People like Keir Starmer and Boris Johnson and David Cameron and Rishi Sunak and Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, look at the flip-flops they do. And it's because they've got no conviction. They are believe in nothing, say anything to anyone all the time, politicians. Biden's a great example because he's on video. I'm sure you've all seen it. And he's always going, yeah, I was raised in the Korean church. And then he goes to another state and he's like, I was raised in the black church. Y'all think I'm kidding. I was raised in the black church. Then he goes to Boston. He's like, I was raised in the Irish church. I'm well Irish, me. And then he goes to, and a repeat ad nauseum. He goes to a Sikh church. I was raised in the Sikh church. How many churches have you been raised in, you knobhead? And that is what I hate. Like, just have some conviction. Believe in something. But people like this think you can play both sides of every issue. Boris Johnson especially. And they do it all the time. Starmer, look at Starmer, right? How can you have two mutually exclusive positions at the same time? There's loads of great examples from the modern era because our leaders are all scum. But just two that are very obvious, right, is you can't be pro-Jew, you can't be pro-Israel and pro-Palestine at the same time. They are mutually exclusive. And they're always doing it. They're always like, oh, yeah, man, I love the 4B2s. Yeah, I love them. And then as soon as they're sat in front of a Golden Bell End church and they're talking to 500 followers of Alan, they're like, oh, yeah, I've got to get rid of them. I've got to throw them out. I've got to get rid of them. So it's like, well, make your mind up then. And they do it with the LGBT thing. When they're talking to a load of blokes in a Golden Bell End church on a Friday night, like Angela Ginger Growler, when she went to that meeting, and there was like 60 blokes in there and she was begging them for votes. She was proper prostrating herself, on the floor in front of these scary, hairy men and saying whatever they want. And they are homophobic. And when it suits them to be homophobic or to be soft homophobic, they are. But then as soon as they're in front of a load of mincing blokes outside a disco in the middle of Manchester, then they're all like, yeah, LGBTQ plus A, yeah. But then they don't talk like that when they're in front of a load of Orthodox Jews or the regulars at Alan's place. Then they're all like, oh, no, I've got to have some sense of decorum. Yeah, of course, yeah. Pick a side, you absolute rat. Yeah, that one is, that's one that people get wrong a lot, isn't it? And it's the amount of people who said, how dare you prostrate yourself in front of, or I'm going for a prostrate exam. I've got some more super chats here. Who else? Bob Hunter, here's a tenner towards jailing. Yeah, well, I'll end up donating that as soon as someone who actually follows my channel gets arrested. So yeah, we'll do that. And she's back she's haunting me from the shadow realm. Super Norwich 23, don't know what that means. I'm not a big fan of Norwich because they kicked Borough's ass in the playoff finals one of these days. From Monks, thanks very much, mate. You're a good one. Don't waste it on pop and crisps. I don't drink pop. I'm a very Englishman. I drink tea, booze, or water. I don't really. No, this isn't pop. This is water. And this is tea, as if to prove the point. Now I just need a beer and I've got everything. I do like Monster Munch. Can't get them out here, though. That's what I'll have to do. When I'm nearly out of tea, I remember about a year and a half ago, I asked for a tea shipment. I think I've got about 200 Rington's tea bags left. So next time, when they run low in about a month's time, I'll do another artwork for aid packages giveaway. The deal is there. You can send me a couple of packs of Rington's tea and a bag of Monster Munch, and I'll ship you some shit art and some stickers and whatever else I've got on that desk behind me. Right, anyway, what other stories are good this week? Let's have a quick look. I'm trying to get off the two-tier thing now because we've done a week talking about it and it's just, what can you do? Oh, there he is. Well, this guy, I shared this, James Goddard, who, funny old thing, now lives in I think he lives in Thailand. Very sensible, because he's another one who got persecuted by the British state. Isn't it? That was back before it was cool. So he's a bit of a trendsetter, James Goddard. You might remember James Goddard, if you don't recall, he got arrested for starting the chant, Salisbury is a November Alpha Zulu India. And she had been calling people that voted for Brexit all the usual insults. Fascist, racist, bigot, blah, 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 blah. She'd been calling everyone that for months. And the second a white working class lad started a chant, Salisbury is a November Alpha Zulu, because she didn't do as she was told, which is the only job you've got when you're a politician. The second he started a chant about her, saying the same stuff that she'd been calling us for years, funny old thing, he gets his collar felt by the Roscopter, and I think he got a custodial sentence, if I remember rightly. So it's absolutely shocking. And he's done a good thing with all of these people who, jailed for chanting, jailed for laughing, jailed for 3 years. That one was shocking. The one he's on about there is the guy's channel who I've watched this guy for years. Sick of it. In fact, I'll show it. I'll do my civic duty. I'll show his channel. So this guy, Wayne, he got 3 year. 3 year for just bants, basically. And I went through his thing, and I literally couldn't find anything that you would say is jailable offence. Like, look at that one. He posted that 2 days before he got nicked. So they just proved him right. And as I said, you have to have a sense of humour about this stuff, because the old Gandhi line, and probably lots and lots of people before him, about first they laugh, then they get angry, then we win. He got 3 years for posting stuff like that. And it's not the end of the world, because they're proving him right. Like I said, if I'd posted stuff like that and they locked me up, if they come for me and lock me up, I'd laugh about it. It'd be like, lock me up then. You're just proving me right. If you have the right mentality, and as I've told you this loads, I'm not like Chris Thrall, I'm not a full-time motivational speaker, but I'm a voracious reader and I know a lot about it. And I feel like I can speak with some authority on it, because I've been to war zones and done a lot more than 99% of the squaddies and sailors and RAF chair force blokes who are all crying about PTSD all the time. Done more than 99% of them, and none of it's given me a single moment's pause, because everything that assails me I treat as a challenge. I like it. If they didn't lock me up for 3 years, it wouldn't bother me. They could drag me out of the court and I would be howling laughing. I would be tenting my orange overalls as they put me in my cell, because they're just proving you right. Poor old Wayne, he's not going to have that much of a bad time. Someone get me his address and I'll write to him. I'll send him a proper letter and a drawing and some shit art to try and cheer him up. But it's not that big of a deal. They're proving you're right. When they smash you in this way for posting things like that, it should give you a grim smile of satisfaction. You are not they're proving you're right every time they do it. So chuckle away. Like, who cares? But it's all this. It's just stuff like that. I refuse to be a second-class citizen in my own country. He posted an opinion on the internet. Look at that one. Because he posted stuff like that, they did come for him. And now he's doing a 3-year sentence. 2 years for stickers. Exactly. The stickers were cleverly worded so they weren't hateful. The guy's not a moron. I've told you this time. If I got in an argument with Diane Abacus, I'm clever. I'm not going to say anything that can get me nicked. I'm not going to pick on you-know-what to insult her. So she'd be calling me all of the slurs that you throw at white people. Or Ash Sarkar's be the same. And I'd make sure I didn't pick anything like that to insult her. And you don't need, there's a long list you can pick from. I'd be like, howling, morbidly obese, looks like you drew your face on with a marker pen, who cut your hair, Stevie Wonder, thick as shit, hippo-arsed, Diane Abacus. You don't need to pick on any of the stuff that can nick you for. David Lambtron, dumb as a bunch of rocks, thick as whale spunk, sweaty, boss-eyed shit for brains. That's what you say to David Lammy. You don't need to pick any of these protected characteristics. I mean, do me a favour. How thick are you? So anyway, none of his stuff's that bad. It's stuff like this. And they locked him up for it. So he's happy. He's happy. He can get out. Say, look what you did. You proved me right. And who cares? British prison, how hard's it going to be? Yeah. Like I said, I used to try and tell myself stuff like this when I was in Afghanistan. I was like, who cares? I was like, catching up on me reading, staying off the beer, saving me money, keeping fit. Worst case happens, I get fragged. I won't know anything about it. 1978 was a good year, and I wasn't around for any of that, so I'm not even bothered about that. Worst case scenario, I get fragged. Oh no, I suppose the worst case scenario is like, you probably survived, but you're horrifically injured. That'd be a bit shit. But as long as I had one testicle, I could get by. I could get by. I'm getting loads of money today. Bob Hunter again, super stick. I can't actually see that on here, Bob, but thanks anyway. Anglo-Saxon. My best mucker at school was a Royal Marine Commando. He was double hard, fair play, and elite accomplishment. Yeah, the only problem is there's way more commandos than you'd think, apparently, because everyone lies and says they're a bootneck. If you're in some Mickey Mouse regiment, it's always, oh yeah, I was a bootneck. Then you question them about it a little bit, and they're like, oh yeah, I was in Kung Fu Bazooka Battalion. But yeah, if he did, well done. No shame in not making it either, by the way, not having a pop. But there's no need to lie about it, is there? The credit always belongs to the men who fail while daring greatly. You never criticise a man for entering the arena. Anyway, so this poor bastard, 3 year, one of the most egregious offences. But as I said, chin up. He'll be fine. And they're proving him right. Everything they do like this, they're proving him right. Who's this knobhead? The Israeli government must be forced to pay reparations. Here. Let's just talk about war for a bit then. It's not a military-themed channel, but let's do it anyway. When there's a war, right, there's only one aim, and it's to win it. And these idiots who keep using the term proportional response, as you all know, I am not an advocate of either side in this war. I don't think the Americans or the Brits should care or pay any money towards it. Fight your own battles. You learn that when you're a kid at school. Fight your own battle. Do it. But this idea that there's got to be a proportional response is ludicrous. It's ludicrous. It's a war. The only response is to win it. You can't criticise anyone for trying to win a war. Can you? Like, what do you mean proportional? If there was a family of jippos and they lived out the back of my house and they were doing my head in, and then one night they, I don't know, sexually assaulted my missus or something, I wouldn't then be like, right, I need to be successful in this conflict. All I'm going to do is I'm just going to do the same to precisely one member of their family. I'm like, no, we're at war now. All I want to do is win it. You don't do exact proportions. And I'd set up my chain gun on my garage roof and I'd get the rounds down until they all left. What do you mean, proportional? There's no such thing as proportion in a war. And as I said, it's like, what's his name? Bomber Harris. Sow the wind, reap the whirlwind. Just win. They started it on October 7th, this latest round. They started it. So you don't count up exactly how many people you got. Oh, look at this. We lost 401 people. So what do we do, boss? Well, what we do is we'll go into Gaza and we'll twat them until we get to 401. And then we'll go back home and sit on a deck chair. And we'll wait for them to do something. And then if they fire a rocket and it kills 11 people, then what we'll do is we'll launch an excursion and we'll kill exactly 11 people. And then we'll sit on the deck chair again. And we'll just keep doing that forever. What? Suck my stump. I'm sick of hearing this shit on proportional. It's a war. It's a war. Twat them. Twat them. When Captain Cook, bless him, when Captain Cook got eaten by them horrible bastards in Hawaii, I didn't want a proportional response. Or what we'll do is we'll sail the Navy over there. We'll just eat one of them. No. Mallet them. mallet them. God bless James Cook. He was born a mile away from my house and they ate him, right? And he was a bit of a pinko for his time. Ooh, I want to go and feed the third world. Yeah, well, they ate him. So mission accomplished. But you don't do a proportional response when there's a war on. So stop talking about it. They scranned James, wipe them out. I'm not interested in chewing one of them. It's very simple, isn't it? And you wouldn't do it in anything else. Proportional. What are we going to start playing football that way? Proportional response. Well, Derby have just scored, so I will tell you what, we'll let Middlesbrough have one goal, and then we'll just, look at each other for a bit. Fucking proportional. Do me a favour. The Spartans versus the Persians. Oh, well, we've killed 300 of them. We just fucking leave now, shall we? What a load of bollocks. Anyway, so I just don't care about this. Reparations. Reparations. It was a war. It was a war. Do we have to pay reparations to the Jerrys? Do we? Because, we won. They started the whole thing. We won. What, you get to the end of the war, then we have to pay them reparations? Because we were lucky enough by the skin of our teeth, because of the Americans and lots of good old British spunk, we just about managed to win it. So then you get to the end and you've got to give them reparations? What a load of bollocks. I've never heard something so stupid. Pisses me off. Scrolling through Twitter just lowers your IQ. Everything we know about the presumptive Democratic nominee's foreign policy view. This woman, I'll tell you what, I'll finish on this because we've been nearly an hour. This woman is as thick as whale spunk, right? I don't know what's going on in the United States where anybody thinks it's acceptable to vote for a woman whose only talent was getting rogered by a pensioner when she was in her 20s. That's the only reason she got involved in politics is because she let Willie Brown plunge into her cinnamon ring when he was 68 and she was 29 or whatever it is, right? So that's the only qualification she's got. Grabbing her ankles is the only thing Kamala is good at. When you listen to her talk, she's without any doubt the thickest woman I've ever seen in public office. I can't think of anyone thicker. Hillary Clinton, we all hated her, but she was way cleverer than her. And if they decided Hillary Clinton wasn't up to the task, what are they doing? Going with that absolute plank. She is an unbelievably dense woman. I seen a video of her the other day laughing about saying that everyone should be more woke. And even the pro-liberal journalists sitting around her were just cringing. They were uncomfortable because she was just howling with laughter every time she didn't know a question. Oh yeah, and this is the obvious one. She's not black. It's a bit racist that it's the soft bigotry of low expectations. It's a bit racist that they think anyone who's got a slight tan is black. She's not black, she's Indian. And B, anyone who happens to have a bit of a tan will vote for her because they look like her, even though she's dense. That is bigoted. I've met loads of black and brown Republicans. They don't pick the candidates just because they think they look slightly more like them than I do. My mate Jude was Indian. He's the most Republican right-wing mad bastard you'll ever meet. I was arguing with him because he was saying they should put landmines on the border. And he was born in India. Do you think he's going to be voting for Kamala Harris? Why do these middle-class white liberals think they speak for every single black and Asian person in the whole world? Is that not racism? I don't think all black and Asian people think the same, but they do. They'd be like, oh, you definitely going to vote for Barack Obama because you're like one of them. They think they're being the liberal ones. And when I go, hang on, normal people don't vote for someone just because they look like them, superficially, or else I'd be voting for Joe Biden. If I had to pick out of all of them, I look a bit more like him than all the rest of them. But you don't vote for someone because you look like them superficially. You vote for them because you like their opinions and the things they say. And these lunatics are like, oh, I'll speak for a blonde, white, middle-class Karen is going, oh, I'll speak on behalf of 11 million black men. And they think they're being liberal. You couldn't make that shit up, could you? What's this? Sandwings. Do a review on this Churchill video. What's the Churchill video? Let me me have a look. Oh man, I can't get the link now. Just because I've clicked on it. Oh well, I can't actually hold the link. When I press on that thing now, it just shows what you're saying. I'll have to manually type it all in. Send me in a DM and I'll do a review, Sadwings. Send me in a DM on Twitter or Facebook or what have you. And what's that? Kamala equals chameleons. Oh yeah. No, well, she's... Again, when it suited her, she was a scary, tough on crime prosecutor, and now it's the flavour of the month. She's a far left, pride flag, nosh your granddad off because it's progressive, read pornography to 8-year-olds because it's liberal. You know, she's one of them. So, yeah, if that suits you, you do you. The world's gone completely mad. Completely mad. And only in a world that's gone mad do you go from Hillary Clinton, who was evil but clever and competent and intelligent in a low cunning. She was possessed of a certain low cunning, evil. And then you've got this, which is just plank with tits. Being kicked off them all. Oh yeah, I could imagine. There we go. When I try and click on a link when I'm in this, I can't. I wonder if I open it in YouTube, I might be able to do it. Let me have a look. Hang on. Sorry, this is a bit of a pain up the arse. Basically, you can't click on links when you're doing it through StreamYard because you can just see, like, just click the button and it shows the whole thing. If I go onto my YouTube link myself, I'll confuse myself. I'll have to turn the volume down. Hang on, there we are. Maybe I can do it in here. Yeah, there we go. Now I can do it.
Socialism is in its essence an attack not only upon British enterprise, but upon the right of an ordinary man or woman to breathe freely without having a harsh, clumsy, tyrannical hand clasped across their mouths and nostrils. A free parliament. Look at that. A free parliament is odious to the socialist doctrinaire. Have we not heard Mr. Herbert Morrison descant upon his plans to curtail parliamentary procedure and pass laws simply by resolutions of broad principle in the House of Commons, afterwards to be left by Parliament to the executive and to the bureaucrats to elaborate and enforce by departmental regulation? As for Sir Stafford Cripps on Parliament in the socialist state, I have not time to read you what is said, but perhaps it will meet the public eye during the election campaign. But I will go farther. I declare to you from the bottom of my heart that no socialist system can be established without a political police. Many of those who are advocating socialism or voting socialist today will be horrified at this idea. That is because they are short-sighted. That is because they do not see where their theories are leading us. No socialist government conducting the entire life and industry of the country could afford to allow free, sharp, or violently worded expressions of public discontent. They would have to fall back on some form of Gestapo, no doubt very humanely directed in the first instance. And this would nip in the bud opinion and its forms. It would stop criticism and it reared its head. And it would gather all the power to the Supreme Party and the party leaders rising like stately pinnacles above their vast bureaucracies of civil servants. No longer servants and no longer civil.
Yeah, well, that's very prescient in it. That's exactly what they do. It's exactly what they do. And very prescient because now Starmer's doing the deal and he's locking people up for tweeting and making jokes and laughing at the bobbies. Look at that. How good's the Donald? The Orange Oracle will save us all. If they don't cheat. That's fantastic. 403,000 likes. Donald just says it as it is. And he's like Churchill for all of his flaws. He's got many flaws. But so what? But so what? The choice is clear. You pick the bloke who's a bit of a dick, not a very good speaker, and he's rude and he's abrasive and he's a billionaire and he's always had money and he's a bit privileged. Or you get that. You get the iron boot of socialism on your windpipe for the rest of your life. It's not even a choice, is it? The only thing I'm worried about is I genuinely don't think they'll let him. This is what I've said before. I think he won last time. The commies have tried to prosecuting him for saying, I think that the election was definitely robbed off me. And they've said, oh, we're going to prosecute you for that. I was like, hang on. Every single US presidential election gets denied. They denied Bush. They denied Obama. They always deny it. When Al Gore lost to Bush, they denied it and said, oh, it was all rigged. Al Gore definitely won. It was all Fox News. Michael Fat Moore made a movie about it. But when Trump does it, they go, yeah, we've got to prosecute you for that. I still think they cheated. So what do you mean you've got to prosecute him for it? It looks like they cheated. I think he won, and I think they cheated. And I think they're going to cheat him again. So I know that pisses you off, Sad Wings, but I don't think we're in that much of a better place than the United Kingdom, because I think the same's going to happen here. They're going to cheat. I never meet a Biden supporter. And I'm in California. 19 out of 20 people who I meet on the piss out here are Republicans. And they're all like, oh, Trump. I seen a video of Don Lemon pulling people over in Jersey. Every single person he asked was like, I'm voting for Trump. Black people, black women, everyone like, oh, I'm voting for Trump. So they're not going to let him. They know he's going to win. So they'll cheat. They'll either cheat or they'll shoot him. I've already tried once. So I think we're in trouble. But yeah, it is what it is. Anyway, I've got to go. I promised I'd help one of my employees move house today. So I'm going to go and do that. Anglo-Saxon, thanks for all the cash. That's a fair opinion at this point, isn't it? How much worse could it have been? Kate, thanks very much. There's a field at the back of your house. Oh my God. Yeah. They used to do that in Afghanistan. I was like, kill me. Every morning playing the call to prayer. I'd rather listen to me grandparents shagging than put up with that shit. I'd rather sit with me ear to the door while my granny gobbles my grandpa off. I hate it. And Tommy Churchill, yeah. Anyway, that'll have to do, you, ladies and gentlemen. You can have that for now. We went over an hour, thanks to the Churchill quote. Thanks for watching. As always, it's always a pleasure. I'll try and get some more videos done next week. And keep your chins up. If nothing else, living in a commie dystopia is funny. And as I told you, it's going to get 10 times worse before it gets better. You're not going to get Joe Normie standing up and doing what needs to be done until thousands of people are in prison for jokes and quips and pointing and laughing and all the other mad shit they're nicking people for. So, as I keep telling you, and I've been telling you for years, buckle up, because it's going to get worse before it gets better. But we are equal to the task. With the stiff upper lip and the stoicism that you can embrace from your forebears who used to spend 80 hours a week chiseling at the coalface and doing appalling jobs for no money, we are made of sterner stuff than wet blankets like Keir, Comrade Starmlin, and all the rest of the authoritarian globalist psychopaths that run the world. So have at it. Suck it up, deal with it. It's not too bad living off gruel and good humour and rainwater, and we'll get through it. We'll get through it. All right? Thanks for watching. See you all next week. Toodle pip. Cheers.